welcome back to the episode of VCTV. Happy Friday, all of you, first of all. And I'm glad and excited to have you all again on this weekend episode, like end of the week episode on VCTV. And today we're going to talk about investments in big data and artificial intelligence, a topic very close to my heart. And I'm learning as with every session with Gary and others as well. So yeah, so let's just kickstart the session. Before that, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Sani Mohanty. I'm the Regional Director of LATOKEN based in Singapore, and I host VCTV. VCTV is a platform where we connect investors like Harsh, Kartik, Alpesh, and Gary to the entrepreneurs. They're looking for collaborations, investments, and all the much needed support that need after getting funded. So yeah, here we are. Welcome back, all of you. Harsh, Kartik, Gary, Alpesh. So let's have a quick round of intro. I'm going to start with Alpesh first. We just who is now very full because he had his lunch. Happy Friday, Alpesh.
I'm in London. What do you want? It's lunchtime, and I'm back to back in meetings all afternoon, as I said. So, hi, I'm Alpesh Maki. I'm a technologist and architect by background. I love big data and AI. I've been working in big data and AI, big data for about 10, 12 plus years, AI probably 2 or 3 years. I did write my first AI algorithm, a neural network in the late 80s. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember. It was my early 90s. So I've actually been doing AI or have done AI for a long time. And I see, as I'm sure Gary and I have been on these things before, and I'm sure all of you know, AI is going to transform every company, every industry, every market, every use case over the next few years. And so I'm excited to be in the industry, building businesses around that and working with others to do the same.
Perfect. Yes. And welcome back. We're going to know more and share more with our audience today about AI and big data. Thank you, Alpesh, for that intro. Next up, Kartik. Kartik, welcome back. Happy Friday. Kartik, you are on mute.
At least I haven't gone off the show, but yeah, thank you so much. Like it was lunch for Alpesh, it's Friday for me, weekend, and it's the 115th time that I'm on your show. Thank you for hosting me so often. Been a retailer all my life, and at the moment I support 2 family offices for investments, specifically in edutech, health tech, and fintech, and represent now 3 venture houses based out of Saudi, primarily investing into health tech space, and incubating 2 startups from Middle East and 1 from India at the moment, specifically one of them in the AI space, health tech AI space. Thank you.
Perfect. Wow, that's interesting. Let's hear more from you later in the show. Thank you, Kartik. Next, I have Gary. Hi, Gary. Good morning.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Great to be here. Great to see some familiar faces. Yeah, it feels like, as we say many times, a family hour.
Yes.
At my way over 600 now shows, a lot of shows on VCTV. Anyhow, my name is Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur investor. I love artificial intelligence and quantum computing. I've been involved in 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, sold for Salesforce for $1.35 billion 27 months ago, and also the co-founder of the HR tech AI company, Eva.ai. I'm the CEO, president, and co-founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier global AI and quantum venture studio located in Santa Clara, California. And it's great to be here today. As we've said many times, AI is a new electricity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gary, for that intro and a little background about yourself. I don't see Harsh here on my dashboard. Don't know if he's here or not. Harsh, are you there?
Harsh is playing hide and seek like me.
So let's just wait for him to come back online. I don't see him yet. Probably hide and seek. Yes, that's correct. While he is still trying to figure how to get back on the show, I'm going to start the show with this opening question that I have for all of you today. Oh, he's back. He's coming back. Hi, Harsh. Hello? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
He had that look.
We have seen this many times, Gary, right?
Yeah.
People freeze on the best pose, the best motion, the facial expression. We've seen Kartik. We just saw Harsh. He's there. I see him now, but I don't see him still. So let's talk about the topic. What are some of the top trends in data and analytics for 2021? Let's start with you, Alpesh. You're on mute.
The number of times you say that in calls, honestly, I'm normally pretty good at that. You're mute. As I said at the beginning, the stuff around data and AI, and I would add cloud into this because it's really relevant to the business model. We've seen adoption of these technologies over the last 10 years, but to be honest, only about 25% of companies have done. Less than 25% have done any kind of cloud implementation. Most companies are really early in their use of data. I talk to startups on a regular basis, and I ask the question. I said, "Okay, well, how are you going to use data in your business?" And they go, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm like, well, you're a digital business. Your business is going to be based on data somehow. And so what I see regularly is that people still don't understand the value of data in their business. You hear about it and read about it all the time in social media and everywhere else. But the reality is they don't take this stuff back in and say, how am I going to use data? If you then add AI to it, I think I was reading a McKinsey report recently saying that most companies, and I don't know how they define most companies, have less than 5 models, AI models implemented in their business. Now, I would think it's going to be less than 2, most companies, right? And this is not talking about the digitally native companies, like the usual ones, Airbnb and Facebook and all those guys, because they run on AI, they run on data. So the market opportunity is that we're going to see a transformation of how applications are built from the ground up with data. We're going to see rebuilding applications with AI embedded in. And therefore, the next 5 years is really exciting in terms of the market opportunity and transformation, leveraging digital technology as well as AI and cloud, because without cloud, you can't scale the data. If you don't have your stuff on the cloud, there's no way you can integrate petabytes of data, because most companies cannot afford to have their own data center with all of their data. So it's going to absolutely, cloud is a crucial element of this.
Right. Perfect. That's a good start, Alpesh. Thank you so much for that start. Let's have Kartik. Kartik, please share your insights about the top trends in data analytics for 2020, 2021.
Like Gary always mentions, and I completely agree, the quantum of data that we generate of late is so monumental that it's absolutely impossible for anybody to process. For example, I'd give you an example of the Airbus Consortium project that I'm working with. And it's something that I'm really, really proud of. 19,000 aircrafts flying at any point in time, 720 GB of data that's getting produced for all their every nanosecond movement and the automated SLAT deployment. All of that, when processed over a 5G network, allows them to reduce 6 to 7% emissions and 12 to 14% fuel consumption. For that end goal, the quantum of data and the quantum of variables they process is probably impossible for any human being to work on. It works with 17 nodes and 27 decompression units across GCC, Far East, South Asia, and Western Europe. So that's the quantum of data that they produce. They believe that this would require anywhere between 300 to 500 man-hours on an every second basis to compute the quantum of information that they have. When they layer it with SLAT, when they layer it with artificial intelligence that governs the flight paths, they've been able to achieve over the last 12 months anything between 14 to 16% fuel consumption optimization. Now, that's what artificial intelligence has been doing. At the other end, I'm associated with one of the startups based out of Birmingham, which is working on, or with one of the government agencies based out of Birmingham, which is working on building an AI-based predictive logic for Parkinson's disease. We've invested through the family office to understand that how Parkinson's disease primarily 12 to 16 years before it sets in, through body movements and through voice recognition and through fluid movements in the body, can be predicted to a 97% accuracy. So what probably a human eye or what probably a physiologist cannot predict or cannot evaluate well is what artificial intelligence has been able to do. And one of the best use cases that I see of late is the daily business that I run, which is the recommender algorithms that we work, either Trio's recommender or Elgo's recommender, that drives almost all the e-commerce companies that I've invested in. So for me, artificial intelligence is everywhere. It just drives the business. And the more I see it driving the business, less I see chances of error, less I see margin of error, and I see far better optimization scale. The challenge is only going to be about computing abilities. Challenge is going to be about data management, and challenge is about trying to build the right fail-safe level so as to make sure that cybersecurity doesn't come in. But otherwise, it's a fabulous place to be in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally agree with you, Karthik, and thanks for sharing those as well. Okay. Next, Harsh, are you back? Are you really back? Okay.
You asked too many questions, Sonny. What?
Is it back or not?
This is what we call Christ with Sunny. It's Sunny.
Gotcha.
Look at him.
Look at the nice smile on Harsh's
Yeah.
face.
Looks like he's really
what it's called. I'm here, but I'm not here.
Did you ask me something? I just lost you everyone for a minute there. I just
We were
lost
trying
everyone for
to
a
figure
minute
out
there.
what are you watching.
Are you watching a movie, Harsh?
No, I'm on my cell phone right now, but I'm having very dodgy internet. I can't watch anything right now.
Okay. All right. Can you hear us, Harsh?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, much better.
Can we have a quick round of intro because we didn't have one from you?
Yep, perfect. So, hello everyone. My name is Harsh Shetia. I'm a venture partner with our ventures and the founder of Startup. Glad to join VCTV as always to have all these familiar faces. You know, Karthik, Alpesh, Gary, everyone. We typically help startups, grow their business, expand dollars, whether it or Middle East or South Africa, etc. Doesn't matter. Mostly we focus on the hemisphere side of things. So that's like a brief intro about me, and looking forward to be a part of this amazing AI panel. In fact, just last week I had a discussion with a lot of major finance professionals were there, and I was presenting them, how AI can kind of change the financial industry, the kind of impact it's already made to other industries, and how it can, how they can leverage AI and implement that within their own industry as well.
Okay, great. Harsh, you're back home because we see the same sort of background that you used to have before you went on vacation. Did you change your internet IP service provider or something?
So right now the thing is the entire city is in lockdown, so there's not much we can do, unfortunately. Even if I put someone else, all the connections, etc., will still be a problem over right now.
I know. Anyways, good to hear from you as well. Thank you so much, Harsh. It's okay. No worries. Gary, over to you, please.
Yeah, sure. So, just to follow up with what Karthik said. So if we want to draw a picture of where we are today, as I've said a number of times, if we stack DVDs or CDs up one on top of another, the amount of data on the planet, which is 40 zettabytes today, would go 29 times back and forth between the Earth and the Moon. That's how much data, and it's growing between 67 and 68% per year. So we are in a state of infobesity. At the same time, in our own personal clouds, each one of us here in the panel has about a minimum of 300,000 items in your personal cloud. Well, in comparison, the entire number of websites on the World Wide Web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. And that number doubles every year. In 5 years, each one of us, because of the Internet of Things, will have 10 million items. And just think about it. How many times every week do you say to yourself, somebody asks you, did you get my message? And you say, where did you send it? I sent it to your email. I didn't see it. Can you send it again? The reason is we're in a state of infobesity. We can't control our own personal cloud. So where does AI come in? And there are all kinds of, machine learning, deep learning, and we could spend the rest of the day talking about it. But in a nutshell, what's happening is AI is coming out to be able to not be your smart but intelligent assistant, to be able to make sense of all the data around you, and to be able to make decisions based upon the kind of things you want, like, or need. And so we're seeing this evolution. The next part of it, and in fact, I had a discussion with one of the top quantum physicists from Harvard this week, and Naren Pranea, and we're talking about the intersection of AI and quantum computing, which is going to change everything. We're right, Karthik was right on target with it. Some of the challenges we have are in cybersecurity, because as quantum computers come out, as AI starts to advance, I mean, they're saying now by 2022 that Bitcoin we'll be able to break the encryption with quantum computers. So we've got some challenges, but at the same time, look at what happened. I was on a panel 8 months ago in Europe, in the UK, with PharmaVision, and basically it was drug discovery and the use of AI, and there were some political discussions around drug discovery because they're used to using bench time. But if you look at some of the vaccines, including Pfizer's, that was developed on Watson, IBM's Watson. So think about how our lives going to change. Then think about when we're using artificial intelligence in areas like genomics, gene splitting, et cetera. So we're in literally across all, and I know you're going to laugh, but the supply chain and toilet paper. And so having the artificial intelligence to be able to tell us where we are with specific products at what point in time, so we can optimize that supply chain. So it's really here in space travel. It's, to go to the Mars, the European Space Agency's developed a smart assistant to be able to, one is check the health of the astronauts or cosmonauts going to Mars, but the other thing is health, physical health, but also the mental health. So if you're taking a year-long trip in a very small space, how do we keep people engaged and sane? So those are the kind of things that are out there. And, in space travel, we've got 6 billion Earth-like planets just in the Milky Way galaxy. And I was speaking to 2 astronauts recently, and Christopher Altman and another friend of mine, Per Wimmer. And one of the things that was said is that there's 6 billion Earth-like planets, but 200 trillion galaxies in the universe estimated today. So you think about, how much we're just a tiny, tiny speck, and we're going to need these kind of tools to be able to help us navigate, through the cosmos.
Absolutely, Gary. Thank you so much for sharing those points. I think we had a fireside chat as well before on AI. I'd love to hear more from you as well on AI and data, big data. Thank you so much, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I think, Harsh, we missed you with this question. I just took the trends for 2021.
Harsh, when you go, you have such a nice look on your face. It looks like you're right into the whole thing. The freezing moments are perfect. They're good ones.
Yeah. So what tends to happen is I'm taking the important notes which are being discussed right now, so I can probably recycle them in some of the next VCTV sessions. Shh, don't tell anyone.
Okay. We are live streaming.
Okay, cool. So just as I mentioned earlier, just last week I had this interesting session with a lot of CFOs and former bankers, primarily CAs and CFAs which were there. So we were just trying to understand how AI can be implemented, right? So compared to the Western and the developed countries, India is still, apart from the few companies which are there who are already implementing AI, some of the really high-tech ones, the newer ones aren't really using it that much. In the financial sector in particular, it's being typically used right now just to target the customers. So Facebook and Google is obviously one part of it, but additionally what they're using is they're using these modern DMPs and DSPs to get customer data and retarget them. That is what AI is being used for. So we're trying to figure out what other applications could be, right, in terms of fintech, how you can do micro lending over there, especially lending in the last mile, as people already know how poorly unbanked India is, right? So how we can ensure we can use AI to get banking at the last mile, at the last level, at the grassroots level, and ensure that even those guys come on board. In fact, there was this Grameen Bank kind of a concept. I'm sure everyone, the Indian panelists, must be familiar. It's like a micro banking service for last mile, really at the village level. So they had reached out to me for fundraising, right? So even we are trying to figure out how we can put AI and implement that in those kind of banks and those kind of last mile banking systems, like the micro banking systems which Mohammed Yunus made famous, and trying to bring that. So essentially, the biggest thing in AI right now is how do you get on board the financial system, right? Because you particularly have with the onset of blockchain and crypto, the
Yeah.
entire global financial system is going to be changing, right? And we have an entire section of population, pretty much 60 to 70% of India, who hasn't even been digitized yet. Forget about blockchain and crypto. So there is like, it's going to be like a huge gap, right? That even before getting that internet access, and we're simply jumping ahead of them and completely ignoring 60-70% of the population. So that is where I see, in the financial space, there could be a lot of things which can be done to ensure that those grassroots level banking can be taken care of.
Thank you, Harsh, for mentioning that banking, because I was about to come to that in my next question as well. Application, artificial intelligence, application of AI across industries, and banking is one of them. So thank you, Harsh, for sharing that. Karthik, let's talk about application of AI in banking. Anything you'd like to add to what Harsh just said? Mute, unmute, unmute,
I would
unmute.
talk about the application of AI that we've been using in one of our pilot cases in 3 African nations on healthcare primarily. So we've been working with certain government agencies on tuberculosis, and we have realized that for clinical diagnosis as well as for certain testing labs, trying to do imaging studies or trying to do diagnostics based at the location is going to be difficult. We're working with 2 pioneer labs. One is again coming out of Bangalore, and another one is from Silicon Valley. I have certain confidentiality clauses to try and work on tuberculosis diagnosis, try and work on certain variants of SARS on diagnostics through using AI to a level where the algorithm allows you to predict, or algorithm allows you to match the case versus a trend up to a 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 probabilities. And it's only the 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10 probabilities that a medical practitioner needs to involve himself to try and override the algorithm. We have seen success coming in over the last 2 months with around 87 to 88,000 samples. If that goes and crosses the 200,000 threshold defined by the government of that particular nation, the pilot would go into a live government-funded project. So we've seen live application of that. Another application that I've been seeing is, and I do a lot of work with Airbus Consortium. So again, the autopilot logic that Airbus uses on almost all its 380As, or Airbus 380A as they call it, is layered with 2 layers of artificial intelligence progressively to a level where it can define its course, it can define its flight path, and it can define its weather change patterns with losing day and gaining day to a level of around 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 probability in terms of its success. They've reached to that level, but what it allows them is to keep their aircraft flying out of the available life of, let's say, around 27 to 28,000 hours that an aircraft has. They are able to optimize it all the way up to 26,000 hours. So the downtime on the aircraft is reduced significantly for either want of people or for want of improvisation of the machines. So I see these 2 use cases where I'm directly involved with.
Wow, how big is this project, this Airbus project?
I mean, Airbus is multi-billion. They've been funding it from their own businesses, but yeah, it's big enough. They've got at any point in time 20,000 aircrafts that fly across the world. So that's the magnitude, and they've got, I think, around 2,300 380As. So that's the quantum of business that they do.
Wow, great. Thank you, Karthik, for sharing that 2 use cases with us. Next, Alpesh, same question, application, depending on your core strength and portfolio companies that you've invested in, how application of AI across healthcare, e-commerce, banking.
So, I mean, the kind of use cases that we're working on is, so one of the sort of trends that's happening in financial services is so we're talking about fintech, but actually going further and talking about embedded finance or embedded insurance. So one of the things that we're working on is the ability to effectively, I think somebody mentioned it earlier about scoring, credit checking an SME to be able to lend to them almost in real time. So if you got an SME and they want to borrow $5,000 for 3 days, at the moment, forget it. Just there's too much effort. If you have a lot of information about that company and companies that are similar to that, and a bunch of other things, you can literally run a model, make an instant decision, and underwrite the thing pretty quickly. So primarily it's to do with the data, obviously, not just the data from the particular company you're talking about, but actually the wider market data you bring in to benchmark and build your models. But what it can do is do effectively real-time decisioning. Another one is we're working on is an embedded insurance. So this is about providing travel insurance and providing gadget insurance as an example. An embedded insurance where you have one click and say you just bought the gadget, you can go embedded insurance, you can have one click and go, yes, I want to insure this, and you can insure it in 25 countries. So if you're in Mexico, so if you're in UK and a UK e-commerce company, but actually you're a Mexican client, at the moment you can't get insurance that easily. But the idea is that what we're doing is basically enabling somebody to do one click, get the insurance in the country that they're in. But this is all based on data and AI to be able to know whether you want to offer the deal, what the price you want to offer, what the premium you're going to offer, etc. So this is the kind of stuff that AI enables. It's absolutely, as I said at the beginning, it's going to change every single business. But the key for me is how do you do this to scale? Because one of the biggest challenges I see is almost all AI companies are silo-based. They say, Kartik's he's talking about healthcare. He also mentioned airlines.
Yes.
These are all, if you imagine in an airline, they have how many departments, right? They've got 50 different departments. All are going to need, a lot of them are going to need the same data. A lot of them are going to need to run and operate this stuff dynamically, as in you don't want to have interference. How do you provide an infrastructure and architecture, a technology stack to be able to literally overlay any AI model onto the whole stack? So that's the gap that I see in the marketplace. You've got vertical stuff. There's lots of silo-based solutions out there, hundreds, thousands of them. But you start thinking about any enterprise and you take a model and say, let's say I've got 10 startups saying, I've got this model. The problem is, and they're going to say, I need my own data. Well, I'm sorry, I can't give you my subset of my data. I've got this data here. You've got to implement on that. And most companies can't do that. So embedded finance for me is huge, but how it's implemented is the key challenge that I see in the industry. And that is, for me, that's one of the issues preventing growth. There's too many silo-based implementations, and that's just not going to scale.
Right. Wow. SME lending, micro insurance, and challenges. Thank you for sharing, Alpesh. Good to know about that. Again, Gary, coming over to you, as Alpesh and Kartik mentioned, healthcare, airlines, insurance. So any particular use case that you can highlight to us, to the user, as well as the challenges that Alpesh mentioned about working in silos? That's why there is no growth over there.
Yeah, so I mean, you look at it, AI is affecting all aspects of our life. The hyper-personalization models of e-commerce. I mean, you can see it when you get on the Amazon or eBay, Facebook. So we already are moving down the path of this hyper-personalization, manufacturing, robotics. So it's all being tied together. The Germans have a phrase, Gestalt, the sum of the parts equal the whole. And so we're seeing it across multiple vertical markets. Of course, healthcare, health tech, manufacturing, aviation. It's literally across the board. But where it's really moving is from this rules-based environment to semi-supervised AI to unsupervised AI. That means it can make decisions on its own. The challenge is we need to have a lot of broad data sets, and we need to be careful what we ask for, because as we're developing this artificial intelligence, if we don't build compassion and emotions, and I've written several articles about it, into the AI, nothing good's going to happen. And then when you couple that with quantum, and instead of the power that we have today, you have 1,000 or 10,000 more times more power with the artificial intelligence, you better be careful what you ask for. Because it will be the all current computer systems that we have across the board will be obsolete for the most part. So we're going to see these kind of trends. So one of the things we have to do, I always say, is when you have a child, you want to make sure that you treat that child the right way, because you don't want to end up being Jack the Ripper. So make sure that you nurture the child and teach the artificial intelligence the right way so good things happen. And part of that is compassion.
What's the difference between supervised and semi-supervised and unsupervised data?
Yeah, so semi-supervised means there is some type of human involvement in terms of the directing the artificial intelligence. Unsupervised is basically making decisions on its own. And then rules-based, it's basically you set up certain rules and it abides by those rules. So it's to the point where it's thinking on its own.
Thank you so much, Gary, for sharing that those insights as well, deep insights. Harsh, are you there? Yeah, would you like to share some use cases besides banking?
Sure. So banking is Alpesh already covered it. There are actually a couple companies in India who are doing into micro lending, not exactly micro lending of Grameen Bank kind of thing, but the short term lending. Like $500, $1,000 for 1 month, 2 months, that kind of stuff. Additionally, I would like to add a specific use case which we were working on about a year back was in the cancer research space. So essentially, the company was using AI to kind of research a lot of molecules and kind of shorten the timeline, right? So typically, what happens is the pharmaceutical drug molecule requires at least 3 to 4 years of clinical research, phase 3, phase 4 clinical trials on thousands of patients, and you need to monitor all of that. And it's an extremely extensive, time consuming and financially expensive process, right? So what this
Yeah.
company was doing was they had created these brilliant AI models. With the help of that, what used to happen is in the initial stages itself, not only could they anticipate what could be the potential side effects, but at the same time they could even tell that if the side effects are too high, then probably it's the right time to stop wasting money on that and start creating another molecule, because it would be a miserable waste of time if you reach phase 4 clinical trials when you have to test 2000 patients and turns out it has far too toxic side effects, and you have to kind of drop it back out at that point itself. So imagine putting like hundreds of millions of dollars, and then you find that this molecule is far too toxic, take it out of the market. So that's what this company was working on. It was really something something very interesting, and we were trying to figure out how to work with them as well. So this was about a year back. Recently there was another medical device company which I was working with. Essentially it was an Israeli based company. They were working on something very unique. I cannot obviously disclose the details, but the idea was in the medical device space was essentially the same, right? So what happens is
Yeah.
typically medical devices like the unsung hero in the healthcare space. People are like, the focus is on pharmaceuticals. That's the big glamorous industry, and the doctors, and that's the glamorous industry. But the hidden gem happens in the medical devices space, and it's actually just as big as the rest of the other markets as well. So we were trying to figure out how we can use AI to kind of implement those situations so that the timing that is required, so it requires to do a test on 200 patients, how we can minimize that as well.
Right. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing use cases in the from the healthcare industry. I think good to know about medical devices as well. Unsung heroes. I love that. Okay, cool. Thank you, Harsh. So what I've gathered that obviously there's a lot of potential, there are a lot of challenges in growth, because as Alpesh mentioned. So how does a startup gain competitive advantage in the space of AI and big data? In the middle of such competition globally. I would like to start this. I'd like to start with Karthik.
So trust me, the number of people who think that AI/ML and big data is a bandwagon that they want to jump is probably everybody. Everybody thinks that they can make millions out of an AI/ML business, and they want to be the next unicorn. But more often than not, they forget the basic fundamentals of it. At any time when you want to get into something, or maybe you get into a mainstream business, you need to be differentiated. You need to find a unique solution to a problem. If you're going to come back to me with the same simulator on either an aircraft navigation, or you're going to find out a COVID pandemic tracing simulator, or you come back with a banking simulator, there's somebody who's already done that. So you're just going to be a very poor me too. More often than not, for a competitive advantage, you need to come in with a very strong tech spec, very strong tech stack in terms of your evolution, your continuum, as I continue to call it. and a very robust pipeline in terms of execution finesse. If you do not have execution finesse and your simulators in place, you do not have the right infrastructure in terms of your algorithms or even the groundwork or the blueprint that is required to build this, not more often you would not be successful enough. You need to bring in the same amount of patience, because any algorithm that you come in doesn't necessarily fire right from day one. I've seen 8 out of 10, 12 or 10 out of 10 algorithms going wrong. It's only after 1.5, 2 years of hard work that people have seen it fructifying. So you need to come in with dollars, you need to come in with patience, you need to come in with the right differentiated blueprint, and more importantly, a sensible solution to people's problems. I don't want AI to work cleaning my kitchen and my garden, but I would definitely need AI to help me try and manage my daily lifestyle. So it depends on what you're trying to solve, when you're trying to solve, how you're trying to solve, and are you going to democratize it? More importantly, if you're going to keep it exclusive to a select few people, then you'd have a solution that might not percolate down. It would not become commercially viable unless somebody picks it up and transforms it into a patented or transforms it into a diluted patent going down the value chain. That's my belief.
So have you seen any startups in a space outside of healthcare, e-commerce, banking that probably
would have loved to. I saw something coming in for banking, but I don't specialize in that space in India. So no, we specifically for Middle East, I keep working only in the health and this the airline space that for the AI. Yeah.
For the AI. Okay, cool. Thank you, Kartik. Alpesh, do I repeat myself?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So my question was, how a startup gain competitive advantage in the space? Because there's so much competition globally.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's looking at the problem in a different way, not just thinking about the model. So a lot of AI companies that have emerged are saying, I've got an algorithm for X or Y. Rather than thinking about it that way, think about the fact that applications are going to get built in the cloud for cloud native. They're going to have AI embedded in them, and you're solving a particular problem. So let's say HR for a sake. I mean, if you know something called Workday is pretty been around for a while. Cloud-based company. They pretty much dominate the market. The guys who founded Workday founded PeopleSoft, which was the previous one. But Workday is now old technology. I mean, it's been around 15 years. It's cloud-based, but it's pretty old. So if you imagine you wanted to go into HR, human resources, think about, okay, well, how is a new human resources system going to work? What is it going to happen? And yes, it's going to be AI-driven. It's going to be data-driven. So thinking about that and saying, well, how do I embed AI into how a HR management system is going to work? HRIS, they call it.
Yeah.
That's the way to think about it. Not just say, well, I've got this really fancy model, I can deliver it. Well, yeah, but so what? You've got to be able to. You've got to think of it slightly differently in saying, well, how can I create new generation applications with AI embedded as part of that application?
Yeah. Is Workday and Monday same or different? Monday.com or something?
No, Monday's different. Workday is a HR system. Monday's something else. Monday's something completely different. It's a project management tool.
Yeah, they kept on popping up on my screen. Thank you, Alpesh. Gary.
Yeah, so you said about gaining a competitive advantage, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, so I mean, this is in a sense we're really in a green field. It's not, there's not a broad topic. Like I said, it's, people define artificial intelligence in all kinds of ways. Some say algorithmic math, some say semi-supervised, some say unsupervised, but the idea is we're moving towards the unsupervised artificial intelligence, where the systems think for themselves. They know that much about us that they can help us make better decisions. In some sense, like a guardian angel, right? Like you're like your mother. We're going to have intelligent assistants like that really across the board. So the companies that are out there, it's about the training sets that they have. By the way, I wrote an article in Forbes about transportable AI models. The same AI models that I use in manufacturing can be used in workforce management, for instance. So it's about the training sets, the quality of the training sets. For startups that are out there today, we're just in the beginning. This, as I said, AI is the new electricity. Think about it that we're beginning of the 20th century. Right. And, Nikola Tesla just came out with alternating current. That's where we are today. We're just at the beginning of the thing. AI is the electricity, data is the fuel, and quantum computers are the turbocharger. So look at what happened over the next 30 years in the beginning of the 20th century. Agriculture, manufacturing, uh, all over the board across from a supply chain to aviation. So things change very, very frequently and fast. So what we need to do is we need to understand that as we start to use AI and as this massive amount, think about it, the amount of data increases 67 to 68% per year. We need to have these type of tools across the board to help us. We're going to live longer. The projected right now, based on using artificial intelligence and modeling and health tech and med tech, is 150 years old, 150. And so we need to be able to understand. At the same time, we got a lot of challenges with growing populations from 8 billion to 13 billion just at the end of this century. We've got challenges with global warming. We've got challenges with water and the environment. We have challenges that need to be addressed. Now we have the Internet of Things coming on board. So we have more data, right? We've got real-time data everywhere. So it's not just collecting it, it's about understanding what the data means and then more importantly, acting upon it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gary. It's a beautiful sunny day over there. Like I see the rays on your screen.
So. Oh yeah. It's beautiful today. Every day.
What's the temperature like?
It's in Fahrenheit, it's about 75, 80 degrees right now.
Wow. Great.
But on that way, if I look on my right side, I have the Gulf of the Atlantic Ocean. On my left side is the Gulf of Mexico. I'm right between them both.
Wow.
On an island.
Sounds good. Sounds great. I feel like holidaying. I can't. Thank you. So, Gary, last question before I move to Harsh. What's the difference between, remember, smart, intelligent assistants?
Yeah, so smart. So people talk about smart assistants, and they're really limited in scope. They help, they help us understand things, but really, it's about giving us information. The intelligent assistants can act upon that information, and it's in a sense, it's like a guardian angel or like your mother. I mean, so at a point, you're going to have these intelligent assistants that really help you navigate through your life, give you information, filter it out so it makes sense of information. And we're going to need them because in my opinion, there's going to be two classes of society: the people that understand the data, the people that don't. So it's going to change. It's like what's happening now on the crypto side, right? Because a vast amount of wealth has been built up in a very short period of time. It's changed things, and it's going to happen with data. Data is going to be, data is going to be key. Data will be an asset for each one of us. We don't treat it like that because we've given up that data to companies like Google and Facebook because we want things for free. But there isn't anything for free. They're making money on our data. So anyhow, that's another story. But there's a lot of data out there that's very, very valuable to each and every one of us.
Yeah, thank you, Gary, and thanks for bringing up crypto. I think yes, people do understand, but still don't understand because it is complicated. Thank you. Harsh, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, great.
So,
good to know.
Which question would you want to focus on?
Yeah, how does a startup gain a competitive advantage in the space when there's a competition? The competition is really fierce. Yeah.
Got it. So, got it. So, first and foremost, the biggest driver for me for an early stage startup is the founder, right? It comes down to the biggest. That's the biggest difference maker. How efficient is the founder? How much deep expertise that the founder has? What's his unique, difference maker, right? I have someone who has like 10, 15 years of industry expertise. He knows what he's talking, and if he tells me something which I haven't really heard of before, which is highly unlikely. But if he tells me something which I haven't heard of, and something which is more informational to me, then that is the founder I would like to listen to more because that I know what that founder is going to do ahead. And I know that, he's going to try and do something different. But if he, comes up with the same thing, which I've always heard, there's not much difference maker, right? And if if it's not even surprising for me, I'm sure there are other smarter people who are working on that already. So that is one of the key areas which I look at. Additionally, one of the other competitive difference makers over here is AI is just too damn expensive. As Karthik also pointed out earlier, to
Yeah.
build a sustainable AI model, it takes at least $2 to $3 million just to start off with, and further down the line it becomes even more expensive. You need some kick-ass data scientists as well.
Hmm.
With all the mountains of data, if you don't use the right data models to kind of figure it out, it could go the wrong way. So that is why
Yeah.
having that team, it goes a long way in that. And also the kind of methodology which you are following, right? Gary was mentioning about unstructured, structured, semi-structured, right? Getting
Yeah.
that thing right at the beginning itself. So thing is, once you so in building the AI model, what you do earlier is kind of try to identify what the structure of the learning structure. How are you going to train your model? What kind of criteria that you want? How do you kind of structure that? And the initial stage, that's where most of the work happens. Once that thing is there, then you simply have to feed data, and all of that is taken care of. But that initial stage, that kind of the thought process which is involved over there, that's the major difference maker, right? So if you go one step over there the wrong way, it could lead to 3 months to 6 months of wasted time, and at the end of 3 months, 6 months, you have nothing to show for it. So that's exactly where the criticality of it comes down to the team. How efficient is the team? What's the data sources that you have? How can you segregate that properly? So that is the biggest difference maker, if you ask me. And
So
shitload
in
of money.
Yeah, and yeah, okay, a lot of money. So again, the question is, so because we see a lot of blockers, I would say, like in growth or scale up in a startup in the space. So how do investors select and incubate the startups in AI and big data? Um, in the middle of fast changing market conditions. I'm going to start with Karthik.
So here, at least we use a very different approach. Unlike a completely meritocracy based and first come first serve, and idea is the king and founder is the king approach, we look at a collaborative route to grow business, because as a family office and as the venture fund, we've got enough startups and enough live projects in this space. So wherever there is a lacunae, we identify those lacunae, we identify those spots, we try and fill in the right startups, we fill in the right business partners that would multiply our growth and multiply the solution that we're likely to create. So, for example, in the Airbus project, I need a data warehousing platform which helps me get into the data warehousing. In the healthcare, the TB tuberculosis project, we require a machine learning platform, so we're trying to build there one. In the Birmingham project that we are working on with one of the partners in Britain, we are trying to build in a very strong big data collaboration platform that brings in the artificial intelligence, or gives power to the artificial intelligence. So depending on the scale, size, and requirement and existing growth platforms, we try and find, or we try and pick up high profile slash energetic startup which necessarily has the right skill sets and has cleared the test or is already under incubation to become a part of mainstream business for us.
That's a great point. That's a great point, obviously. Thank you so much, Karthik, for sharing that. Alpesh?
Sorry, what was the question?
Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, great. I think Harsh is gone again.
Again.
So we discussed, like, Alpesh, about the challenges that startups are facing. So what about investors? How do they select, filter out these AI, these startups with this fast changing market?
I think. I mean, I see lots of deal flows. So many companies.
Right.
I think I said earlier in the session,
Yeah.
if you're not thinking about data and AI as a key part of your business, then I'm not interested in talking to them, basically, because they don't understand that data is going to drive their business. Whatever kind of AI you're using, whether it's supervised learning, unsupervised learning, or whatever else, right? That's the first thing.
Yeah.
How do you get growth? How do you get adoption? How do you make a startup work? It's all the same stuff. It's all the same. Product market fit, go to market strategy, get something up and running fast, iterate on it. It's all the stuff that counts. Now, the interesting thing is, if you're doing AI, then potentially your speed with which you can update your model, modify your model, and make it more accurate, the more chance you have of being successful. right? But
Right.
at the end of the day, one of the biggest barriers as well is actually organizing. Kartik mentioned this, actually organizing the data in the first place, right? You can't do AI without data, and to be honest, that is a big challenge for most organizations. Actually, having the data in a way that you can use to run the models on. So I don't want to sell what we're doing, but Kendra Labs, which is one of our ventures, is providing that capability. Right? Is because we see that as a big problem, right? I've been working in data for more than 10, 12 years, and we've implemented data platforms for so many companies. And we've only scratched the surface when we implemented it. They don't really understand that they're going to change their operating model, they change their business. And if you can't get data right in a pipeline, you can't then overlay the data scientists to build the models, implement the models, train the models, improve the models. And then you can't deliver value more quickly. A lot of startups, for me, it's also about what is your operating model for your startup? How would you iterate quickly? How do you find a use case to implement, build it, test it in the market, test it with customers, and keep going. And building an operating model allows you to put things live fast. So not taking 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, or 5 weeks, or 10 weeks, or 12 weeks to find a use case, build it, and deploy it. You should be able to build an operating model that allows you to change things on an hourly basis, on a daily basis. So if any of you know Facebook, this is what they do. They're conducting thousands of experiments every single day. Now, they have the luxury of having whatever 3 billion users or whatever, right? So they can pick any subset of users they want to test any piece of functionality they like. Right? That's what they do on a daily basis. So Facebook Live, all about that. That's how Facebook Live happened. One of the teams said, "Oh, we should do some videoing," and they built software for 50 people and extended it. So when you're building your business, think about that. Think about how you build the operating model around it to scale faster and find your product market fit quicker, because that's how you're going to scale.
Absolutely. Great points to be noted. Startups, if you are in this space, is quite crowded, competitive, and that's what the investors are looking for. And Alpesh, Kartik has definitely touched upon those challenges and how to solve them. Thank you so much, Alpesh, for those points. Gary, over to you. Would you like to ask something, Gary?
What was the question? I was so into the what Alpesh was saying about his company that I forget the question.
How would you select a startup? Like you obviously GST also runs incubation, right? So you have like 50 AI startups. How do you filter them out? Which one
the thing is, we believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. So we look everywhere. We go through all over Africa, Nigeria, Rwanda, Kenya, you name it, Indonesia, Vietnam, wherever there's talent. So we look for the team first, right? Then we look for what the technology is, and we look at whether or not our customers really interested in paying money for it or not. What kind of growth they have, the fundamentals, just business fundamentals. On the other side is we look at the artificial intelligence, we open the hood. By the way, I've got a chicken behind me. I don't know if you...
I was actually going to ask, is that your ringtone?
No, what happened is they have wild chickens in Florida. So when the settlers came down here, they protected them. So they actually have wild, beautiful chickens that run wild down here.
Is it free range chickens?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I miss those farmlands. I haven't traveled outside of Singapore. It's been over 1 year.
Well, it's kind of funny because you got these beautiful houses down here with chickens running around. It's kind of goofy. Like this movie. Packs of chickens. My dog loves it. She chases them. Anyhow, yeah. So we look at what kind of technology you have, what kind of problem they're solving. Is it something that's easy to solve or not? Are there competitors in the marketplace or not? And it's, we do it very, very quickly. And again, we're looking all over the world. We're looking for those diamonds in the rough.
Right. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Alpesh. I have lost Harsh again. Harsh, are you there?
I think he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's dropped off.
So we are almost to the end of the show now. So it's a Friday for me already here. I think for Kartik as well. Gary, just starting a Friday. Gary, it's Friday for you, right?
What's that?
It's a Friday for you as well, right?
Yeah.
You just He's just starting his day. It's like 7 a.m.,
I'm just
7, 8 a.m. in the morning.
Can't you hear the roosters out here?
Yes.
I'm waiting for a panel when somebody tells me that, hey, I am 2 days away from you on Mars. Sunny, it's Friday for everybody.
Oh,
Yeah,
geez.
the problem is they wouldn't be able to participate in a live session because it takes the speed of light is limited. Remember, so even the EM waves take 10 minutes to get here. So by the time you've asked the question, we've got it. So hey,
Lag. Okay, great. So yeah, we wrap up the show now. So, but before we wrap up the show, it's a Friday again. So I just want to know what's for the weekend. Karthik, please don't give me the same answer. What are you up to for the weekend?
Trust me, I have an action-packed weekend. I have a business case study discussion with a partner. After that, I have a kid's birthday to attend, and after that, I have another business case study to attend. So that's my Friday plan. Trust me, that's exactly what I'm going to do in next 3 hours.
Great. Karthik works 7 days a week, non-stop.
Thank you so much for hosting me this afternoon. It was lovely talking to all of you. And like always, I'm reachable on LinkedIn, I'm reachable on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm reachable through VCTV, which is the most credible source of reaching out to me. Thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that. Thank you, Karthik. Alpesh, how's your weekend looking like? Working as well?
Running. So running, working, and watching Nomadland. I think I'm going to tell my wife let's watch Nomadland because it won the best film, and it's just come on Disney Plus. It just came out on Disney Plus in the UK. I don't know whether it's anywhere else, but it's come on Disney Plus. So Saturday evening, I think, will be Nomadland.
Wow, that sounds like interesting weekend. So where can people find you?
Usual places on Twitter. I'm at Alpesh Toshi. On LinkedIn, you can find me. You can hopefully see my picture. There's another chap whose name is the same as mine, who's a very famous gynecologist and IVF treatment guy. That's not me. But apart from that, you can find me. If you send me a message or you want to connect, just let me know where you saw me and where you heard about me and what you'd like to discuss.
Absolutely. Make sure if you are a tech startup, Alpesh Toshi, Red Clive Capital, and not an IVF doctor. Thank you so much, Alpesh. And Gary.
Doctor?
IVF doctor, right?
Yeah. No, I like that. So, yeah. Anyhow, I love to hear from artificial intelligence and quantum startups from all over the world. We're actually going back to Africa in June. We're going down to Kenya, Ghana, and Nigeria. So we're going to be down there. Love to hear from startups from everywhere. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn. You can reach me on Twitter. And I'd love to hear from you. I've got a couple of shows, some interesting topics. Check them out. I just had one of the top quantum physicists from Harvard and MIT on my show this week, which is pretty interesting, talking about quantum and how it's going to change our life. And I just wrote an article in Forbes on quantum and its impact in everyday life 2 days ago.
Thank you, Gary. And
Thank
what's
you,
up for
everybody.
me? Before you go, Harsh is saying I'm missing the fun. But Harsh, I can't add you. I can't see you. Sorry.
He's there.
Guys, I have to drop off. I'm getting chased. I've got a workshop. My colleagues are chasing me. I have to go. Apologize.
Have a great weekend, Alpesh,
You too.
and love to see you back on another episode of VCTV. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So bye-bye. Take care. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.